3, 2, 1, 0.
It is 7 o'clock, it's Monday, which means it's time for Monday Night Nerd! And tonight is a very special episode, folks. Why is it so special? Well, I had one of the craziest weekends of my life, but more importantly, it's episode 100 of the podcast. 100 times I've been doing this. I cannot believe we're at episode 100. I am so happy to be at episode 100, and I'm so happy that it falls on this episode because I kind of hate those episodes where it's an important episode, a milestone episode, and I got nothing to talk about. I got a lot to talk about for this episode, folks. I hope you're really excited. If you're in TikTok world, you should hop over to YouTube, Myers Corp Cosplay, and you could join the feed and you can talk, and I'll answer any questions you guys got over there. Folks on YouTube, hope you're doing well. If this is your first time checking out the episode, hi, my name is Myers Corp Cosplay. I am a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area. I've been cosplaying for many, many years. This is my podcast, Monday Night Nerd. We talk all about movies, music, comics, cosplay, and a whole lot more. Specifically this week, we are talking about the Metallica No Repeat weekend in Toronto. I was there. I spent $5,000 on a ticket. I got the enhanced experience, and I'm going to talk all about what I got for 3 days in the world of Metallica. Usually on these episodes of the podcast, we talk about, nerdy things that are topical. So I usually have a news section and then we jump into the main event. But because this is such a big episode and such an important episode that I want to talk about, we're just going to do the main event. There will be no news tonight. We're going to talk all about newsy news and stuff next week. But we wouldn't be able to do the podcast, 100 episodes of this podcast, without the sponsor. And if you've been to the episodes ever before, it is the same sponsor. It is the most important sponsor. The sponsor for the 100th time is my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. Without her, I would not be doing this. I would not be the person I am. So, hun, for the 100th time, I love you and thank you for being the sponsor of this podcast. Folks, it is time. It is very, very important, folks. I went to see Metallica. All right, let's kick things off. I went to the Metallica No Repeat weekend, Toronto takeover, whatever you want to talk about. And I'm doing this episode not to brag or that I spent $5,000. Isn't that cool? I want to talk about what $5,000 on a Metallica show gets you, because I've seen a lot of videos online from different influencers and different people in the industry talking about these super expensive things that you can get with a ticket instead of just getting a ticket. You can get these enhanced experiences. This is one. Another one that was really important lately was the Gene Simmons one, where you could spend $1,200 or something like that, or $12,000 or something, and you can get to be his roadie for the night, and you get a guitar and stuff like that. Baby Metal's got one that's coming out on their new tour where they send you a video message and all that. There's a lot of things you can get for these tickets, and I want to talk about this one because this is my band. Metallica is my band. This is the biggest band. I grew up with Kiss, but once I found Metallica, they became my favorite band. End all, be all. I learned to drum because of Lars. I've got every single CD. I've seen them a bunch of times. I could list almost their entire history. I'm a fan. So this was definitely worth it, but I definitely want to talk about the backstory of how I got these tickets, because that really means a lot, because it's going to influence what happened and it's going to play a factor into my overall opinion on this an enhanced experience. So the backstory of this, and I don't think I've told the entire experience on the podcast, so I don't mind saying it now because I didn't really want to talk about it, but now I can. So my wife and I had actually we have two vehicles. Our original vehicle was in 2001, and we've loved it. It was a nice little car, but it was getting to the end of its life. And my wife and I do not like paying for vehicles or anything like that and having payment plans. We like buying things straight out. And when it comes to the vehicle market in 2025, the used vehicles are about the same price as new vehicles thanks to the 2020 pandemic. So we had decided that we were going to order a brand new hybrid vehicle and we would pay it out in full. So what we did was we pre-ordered it from the dealership, and the dealership said it would take 1 full year to get it made and be ready to buy. So we had a whole year of, we know we need to plan, we need to pay, we need to do all these things, so we saved money. JS says, uh-oh, what's happening? I don't know, JS, what is happening? Is everything okay? Can you hear me? He said, what is happening? That is not good. Please tell me you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up, JS, that everything is looking and sounding good. No one has said anything in the chat yet, so I'm running blind right now. So hopefully everything is good. Check 1 2, test 1 2. Come on, JS. Be my eyes and ears. Tell me what's going on. Now I can see you. Yep, there you are now. Okay, so it's probably him. Anyways, so we had decided to pay for a full vehicle in full. It took 1 entire year. So we waited a year. We had saved up all of our money, and when the time came to purchase the vehicle, the dealership said it's actually going to be a lot longer. So the problem that happens there was our original vehicle ended up dying. Can't drive it anymore, had to get rid of it. So we realized at that point that because my wife works from home, I only work local, I don't have to drive very far. We really were good with one vehicle. We ended up having a family friend who sold his old vehicle to us, so we only had to spend a very, very, very small amount of the money that we saved for our vehicle. So we had a lot of money. You can imagine a new vehicle banked with nothing to do as of this point. Coincidentally, that was probably 3 days before the tickets went on sale for the Metallica show. I did not plan to use the money for this. However, my wife brought up many important points, including how big of a fan I am. They are getting old. Let's remember, James is 60 now. The last time they were in Toronto was 2017, so it's been a few years since they've been here. The next time they're probably going to be here, he's going to be over 65, closer to 70. Is that something you want to wait for and possibly either never get the opportunity or it never happened because of, age happens, many different things could happen. So she said, let's think about it. I saw the price of how much this experience was. It cost over $5,000. She said, look, you get that. I'm going to get some tattoos, which she did, and she actually has still got tattoos to get, and that'll be us spending a little bit of that money on ourselves, and then we can bank the rest. So that is the predicament that I was in. So this was not an experience that was put on a credit card. This was not an experience that I'm paying off later. We had a perfect circumstance where we had cash banked, and I was able to purchase this. And I want that to be a very important part of this story because I don't want people to go into this looking at all the stuff I'm talking about and saying, oh, I'll pay for that. That's no problem. I don't mind putting that on a credit card. I don't mind putting that on a payment plan. I'm not a fan of that. It's your money. It's your life. You do what you want. But if that wasn't the case and we had to put it on a payment plan or something like that, I don't know if I would do this. And I want that to, as big of a fan as I am, I honestly don't know if I would. I probably wouldn't. So let's lay that ground floor before we go deep in this. So the package was the Nothing Else Matters. It is the highest package that you could get for this show. It rounded out with tax and everything into about $5,400. I do have a friend who lives within like a stone's throw of the Rogers Center, so I did have somewhere to stay, so that was an extra expense that I did not have to pay for. So I understand that doesn't affect everyone else, and other people would have to pay for lodging, travel, and all that. So $5,400 was about the money spent. So let's go in night by night, and I'll kind of tell you what happened, what we got, what we saw, and etc. So when I first received the email, it basically said, your two big things for the Nothing Else Matters behind the scenes package, whatever you want to call it, was you get to walk on the stage, you get to go backstage, and you get to meet two members of the band. We'll talk more about why it's only two later. And these would be on different nights. So you weren't going to do everything in one night. You were going to get one on one day, one on another. They kind of split the entire group of us. Let's say there's 20 of us. 10 did one day, 10 did the other day, and then they reversed. So I knew the first day would be a tour day. The second day was going to be the meet and greet day. So got there early on the Thursday, because it was a Thursday and Saturday show. Friday was an off day. I got tickets for other things, and we'll talk about that. So got there around noon, 12:30 closer to 1 on Thursday, because we had to be at the Rogers Center for around 2 o'clock, because we had to check in with the booth and everything just to make sure everything was straight before we were allowed to get in. So got there around 2 o'clock, and they had two main tents out front that you'd walk up. You got to check in. They gave you 3 wristbands. You had one that was for the Black Box Lounge, which we'll talk more about later, one for the Snake Pit, which was the floor, and then one was the color of group you're in. One was black, one was yellow. We were Team Yellow. You also received the Yeti, which I've left downstairs. You get a metal Yeti. It's about that big. It has a screw-off top like a regular Yeti, but the lid also rotates into 2 different options. So you can take it right off, and then one's got like a little nozzle, like sort of a Gatorade bottle style. So not bad. I've got a couple Yetis downstairs, and this is actually probably the best one that I've got. So we waited outside. There was probably, I want to say, 20 of us in the group, maybe a little more. Yeah, probably 15, 20 of us in our group. And we were ushered into the Rogers Center by one of the tour managers, I believe. I can't remember what his name is, but really nice guy. Had a lot of information. We were originally supposed to walk in and go straight down to the stage. However, we had to wait in the mezzanine walking area where all the, concourse level is, because Pantera was still doing their sound check, and he admitted that this was late for them. Usually they were done way earlier. So not being able to go down to the stage and just kind of sit there and listen to Pantera do sound check was kind of nice. It was a nice little bonus. He did say that would impact how long we had down there, but you're listening to the Pantera sound check. We weren't allowed to watch. The curtains were up, but we still got to listen to it, so I was happy with that. After a little while, I think they did 2 to 3 songs. We went down, walked down just like anyone else would to the floor, and we were able to walk on the stage before everything was set up. If you were at the concert, their stage this season or this tour is a circle. And we weren't allowed to walk around the whole circle. There was a good section, like a quarter of the stage, we were kind of able to go around. Suicidal Tendencies drum set was already set up. They didn't want us to go past that because, we don't want to touch that. And then the other side was going up the flight of stairs. We didn't want to get into that. We were around the drum risers for Lars. If you were at the show, this would have been the 4th set of drums. That's the section we were on. And yeah, we just kind of hung out there. We walked around a bit. He talked about the stage setup, what it was like to carry it around on tour, what it was like to set up, how fast they could do it. Yeah, just a great general question and answer about how they built the stage. Then we took a bunch of photos, came down, we walked around the floor a bit. They have the 9 big towers that you may have seen from the photos, and if you were there, the fun thing that he told us, and I really started to try and look for it, was because this is the 72 Seasons album tour, the production was really centered around the number 72. So if you notice the towers, there were 9 towers. Each tower on the bottom and on the top had 8 lights. 9 times 8, 72. There's a bunch of little Easter eggs like that throughout the production and throughout the set that they haven't told anybody, but if you kind of looked for it, you can kind of see it. So that was really cool. They were talking about how many tractor trailers they have, a whole lot of good knowledge. Like, really, this guy had a ton of knowledge, which was really nice, because I could see them just sending like a rookie out there and being like, yeah, this is the stage, isn't it great? Like, yeah, cool. But no, actually had a lot of good information, answered every question he could. Then we ended up going around the back and went through the backstage area. If you saw where Metallica was walking out, we went through there. And we walked around, and we just got to see like how everything was set up in the back. They had the video production back there. As we were walking, a couple golf carts came by, and all of the members of Pantera were on those. Zakk Wylde, Charlie Benante, Phil Anselmo, Rex were all there. So that was cool, kind of seeing them out of their element. They didn't stop. They didn't say hi or anything. They're working. They're busy. So we got it. But it was cool just to kind of wave and say hi. And then we just kind of walked the floor a little bit, and then we went up to the black lounge, which is the black box lounge, sorry. And that was kind of our hub for the tour. If you don't know what the black box lounge is, it's the WestJet lounge at the Rogers Center. It's back in the outfield. You've probably seen the big picture, the big logo of it. It's a big long hallway where we kind of got to hang out, and they had a lot of interactive stuff we could kind of interact and have fun with. They had a couple displays set up. They had a Ride the Lightning electric chair that we could sit in and get some photos with. They had sort of a 3D version of the Master of Puppets album, so you can stand behind the gravestones. They had a 72 Seasons area set up with the broken instruments in front. I'll be completely honest, it looked amazing, but I don't think I saw a single person take a photo in that. I saw photos in everything else, though. No offense to the album. It's Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, though. I mean, come on. They had Lars's Hardwired for Self-Destruct drum kit there, which I almost freaking fainted when I saw that, because as I said at the beginning of this podcast, I grew up learning to drum by watching Lars, so being able to sit on that drum kit and not go crazy would have been completely out of my mind. They did not have drumsticks there, so I could not play the drum kit. However, they did have bass pedals set up, so I had to sit down, and I apologized to the guy in front of me. I said, I have to do this, and I did the for one, because I'm like, I just have to say that I did it. Like, I'm sorry. You want to throw me out, I apologize, but come on. And then the last part that was really cool was they had 3 guitars set up. One of James's, one of Kirk's, and one of Rob's, and you could put headphones in and play the guitars, and you could hear yourself actually play them. Now, this is something I did not know until later. We were talking to the guy who was doing the meet and greet with us, and he was talking about what we thought of the lounge, and we said, it was really cool with the instruments and stuff. And he said, we've ran into a couple times that they will be doing a production run, just making sure everything's there. And someone will say, oh, where's the blah, 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 blah guitar? And they'll say, oh, it's been up in the Black Box Lounge for like the past 10 shows. And I kind of let that go. I was like, oh, that's funny, haha. And then it hit me. Those guitars up there are not reproductions. Those are the guitars. So, like, on the last day before all this happened, I was holding James's White Iron Cross, and I'm like, that's the guitar. That's not just like, oh, we bought a second. No, that's the guitar. So that was cool finding that out later. What else? They had a couple sections set up with some kind of exhibits. They had a bit of setup that had a couple skateboards from their early days, some jackets, some stuff like that. They had another section which had some awards. They had the Grammy that they won there, which I thought was hilarious because I wanted to. I was the one guy. I'm like, thank God Jethro Tull's not here. Inside joke if you're not a Metallica fan. So that was nice having those little setups. And what else? They had a pinball machine, and that's about it. Other than that, they had a lot of food there and drinks, which was really nice. They had a really good spread there. That's something that really that shocked me so very much, was that they could have easily just done pizza. They could have easily just done pizza, hot dogs, normal stuff. They had food there. Like, there was sandwiches, there was pizza, there was hot dogs, but there was also salad, fruit, pasta. Like, they had food there. So that definitely plays into how much this costs, because I'm thinking, if I actually bought all of this food in the concession stands, which I don't think some of that's even available in the concession stands, it cost a pretty good penny. So that definitely played a factor. So after spending some time there, I finally ended up going down to the floor. You're able to leave the tour at any point, by the way. Like, anytime you're like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. This is kind of boring. You can go down to the floor and just chill in the snake pit until the show starts. This is one thing I definitely did not know, but does kind of might impact some people if they buy this package. If you do the whole tour, so if you do the stage tour, if you do the meet and greet, whichever, you will probably not be the first ones on the floor. Both days there was a whatever package or, get on the floor first tickets that were ahead of us. So if you see the new stage, it is a circle, but on two of the sides, it does drop a bit. So instead of the stage, I think the stage came to here on me at the high point, at the regular points. It goes to about my waist, if not my middle of my belly, on the lowest part. That's where everyone wanted to stand. So by the time we got down there, that area was kind of already filled up. So if you're someone who's like, I want to be in that section, I want to make sure I'm as close to James, Kirk, and Lars and Rob that's as close as I want to get, you're going to have to leave the tour early. Because even by the time we started the tour of the stage, there was already people on the outside being let in. So that's something to think about when you get this package, is if you want that perfect seat, the tours will impact your where you're standing, just so you know. And then the band started. Suicidal Tendencies kicked off Thursday night. It was really cool to see them. I know of them. I know a couple of their songs. I'm not super familiar with them, but they really did a great job. Trujillo's boy is the bass player, and he kills it in the live setting. Really good job. I could tell a lot of people didn't know a lot of their stuff. Nobody was going completely crazy for them, and that'll be something that happens on the second show as well. But a solid band. Actually, I really want to start listening to more of their stuff. They ducked out after about 40 minutes. Pantera kicked in, which I've never seen Pantera live. I've actually never seen any of these opening bands live, so this was a very nice treat to get 4 opening bands that I wanted to see, as well as 2 nights of Metallica. Pantera was great. I will fully admit, as a lot of the critics will say, it is sort of a Pantera tribute act. Like, it was big, it was impactful, but you are missing Dimebag because of what happened, and Vinny because of his passing as well. So having Zach there is great, having Charlie Benante there was great, but it wasn't as good as I had hoped. I don't know what I was hoping for, but I just felt a little lackluster, as great as those players are. So take that into consideration. They played a great set. Again, I don't know. I'm not a hardcore Pantera fan, but I know a lot of their stuff. 5 Minutes Alone, Broken, Walk, obviously, Cowboys from Hell, all those ones. But again, great show. And then I'm trying to think. Also on the floor in the pit, if you're someone who is in the snake pit, you will probably, if you keep your eyes peeled, see other famous people in the pits, as you've probably seen in past shows. Momoa has gone on the floor and jumped around with everybody. While I was there, George Stroumboulopoulos from Much Music fame, he was down there, had a great conversation with him. I also saw Carla Harvey, who is engaged to Charlie Benante from Pantera, who is also formerly of the Butcher Babies. She was down there, gave her a wave. And who else? Danko Jones was down there. I said hi to him. Danko Jones has one of the coolest jean vests I've ever seen. It's entirely covered in unmasked Kiss stuff, so nothing with face paint. It's all the 80s stuff with like Bruce Kulick and stuff, so that was really cool. I was very happy to see that because I never see that anywhere. And so then Metallica came out, and it was a hell of a show. I gotta admit, if you are going, know that there are four drum sets for Lars, which means the stages are kind of broken out into quarters. So for every 4 or 5 songs, depending, the drum kit is going to move drum kits. So if you start at a corner where Lars's drum kit is, he will move throughout the rest of the show. That is going to affect some people's viewing area, because if I'm at the stage here and he's right there, at some point he's going to be behind me and I'm going to be now at the farthest area from the pit unless I want to follow, which some people did. I don't, because I don't really want to push people around, and if people are there, they've been there for a while, so I'm going to let them have their spot. When it comes to songs, it was a very mixed bag throughout both nights. A lot of 72 Seasons stuff on the first night, which I heard a lot of people have critiques of. It's not my favorite album. I'm also of the age now where I don't have a ton of time to sit down and listen hardcore to albums like I used to. There are some good songs on it. Just there was a few that I was like, I think I know this, but not really. The highlights of the show, I was on, like I said at the beginning, I was on drum kit 4, which was later in the set. When James does the Sad But True intro, he is literally over my head. I'm looking literally straight up at him. I had a girl next to me who joked, she's like, "You're so close to James." And I looked at her, I'm like, I've now been closer to James's balls than his face, because he's this high on me. And even like his feet are at my nose. So I'm like, yep, that's James's crotch. So many fans would love to be in my position right now, but it was so cool having him that close. This is something that's very interesting. I've never, ever wear earplugs for any concerts. I'm that guy. I am now, however, realizing I'm 36, 37 in a couple weeks. I need to wear hearing aid. I need to wear earplugs. So my wife picked up a pair of those loop earbuds, ear protection, and this was the first time I wore them, and they work really well. I honestly didn't hear much muffling. I heard some people complain about the sound on the first show compared to the second show. I kind of think there was, based off what I could hear, but I don't want to be a judge. I did take the earbuds out for The Day That Never Comes, because that is one of my favorite of the newer batch of songs. I always joke that if I was to get a Metallica tattoo, I would get the lines, "I'll splatter color on this gray," which, because I'm an artist, that's a lot. I know that's not what the line means in the song, but that's my interpretation of that line. And I always wanted to get the word gray in Metallica letters and get like paint splatter on it. It's an art thing. But yeah, I took them out for that and it sounded great, but I did hear some people complaining from the cheaper seats that the sound wasn't as good on the first night. So I can't judge that. That's just the way it is. And that was pretty much it. I did end up getting a couple guitar picks from night 1, which I was really happy about. If you don't know what they look like, they have an ice skate on one side and they have the Saturday 72 Seasons on the other side. My phone for TikTok just fell over because someone just messaged me. Don't you guys know I'm doing a podcast? Like, you guys should not be messaging me. I'm doing a podcast right now. Anyways, but yeah, night one was very, very fun. I'm glad everyone seemed to enjoy themselves for while they were there. Marcy in chat says, I've seen Suicidal Tendencies with Metallica in 94. This seemed to be a tour that they kind of brought a couple of their previous bands back. Like Limp Bizkit was famously on the Summer Sanitarium tour. Suicidal Tendencies toured with them before. Pantera's toured with them before. This is, I think the first time Ice Nine Kills is obviously because they're a newer band. But it was cool seeing people say like, yeah, I've seen them in previous tours. So that was good. And that was the end of night one. Night one was great. Like I said, we got to tour the stage and all that. Great time up in the Black Box. Went to bed and got up for day two. Now, day two was an off day for most people unless you wanted to be a part of the Toronto Takeover. And the Toronto Takeover was other events around the city of Toronto that had things to do with Metallica, but were, for the most part, not actually Metallica. Kirk had a book signing, book Q&A, whatever it is. He's got a book about his guitars that he rented at a theater and was going to talk about those. There was the Canadian Metallica tribute band Sandman was playing a show. I know Suicidal Tendencies drummer had a drum clinic just outside of Toronto. So there was a lot to do on the Friday if you wanted to. I personally got tickets to my favorite artist, and if you are a Metallica fan, you are well aware of who he is, Mr. Squindo. He had an art Q&A just down by the exhibition ground, so I got tickets for that, and we'll talk about how that was in a minute. But first, I had to take a run down to the pop-up store. Metallica did have a pop-up store in the, what's it called? The Wendell? I don't know. Anyways, in one of those little outdoor malls just down the road from the arena. And it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was a giant frickin' lineup. But thankfully, I've done about 10 years, 15 years of conventions. I'm well aware what standing in line feels like, and I've done it 100 times, so it really didn't bother me. What was at this pop-up store? Well, pretty much all the merch you could ever want. They had a lot of classic tees, including this one, which I purchased. This is the Flamehead from the 94 tour. I used to have this in a hoodie, but it literally disintegrated. Like, the sleeves disintegrated off. That's how bad it was. So I picked this up. I picked up a Squindo shirt. They did have an exclusive pop-up poster there, which I was hoping to get. However, after getting there at 10 o'clock when the doors opened, waiting an hour in line, getting to about 12 to 13 people from the door, they told us the poster had sold out already for the day. Frustrating, little bit, but with all the other stuff I got, it's honestly not that big a deal. And then I also picked up a Metallica patch, which is back there. It's the same logo that I got on the shirt, but it's got Canada on the bottom. I figured it would look pretty good in a display. After that, got some lunch and went home and relaxed and got ready for the Squindo Show. Now, the Squindo Show, like I said, I'm a big, big fan of his artwork. If you've seen any of the old merchandise of Metallica as kids, if you've seen any of the funny things that Metallica's put out, any of the stuff where they've worked with the San Francisco Giants, any stuff that's worked with the San Jose Sharks, the Antarctica artwork, that's his stuff. And it was I've always been a big fan of his, to the point that I've actually, when I was in high school, I stole a lot of his artwork and made it. I didn't say it was mine, but no one ever questioned it, so I just never said anything. So we went to the venue. It was probably only about 30 of us, but that was all it really needed to be. And we just did a Q&A. It was him and Fearless Fred. If you know Toronto Rock Radio, he was there hosting. And this kind of talked about his history, like growing up in, drawing and getting in touch with different bands. His first band that he ever worked with was with Kid Rock, which then got him introduced to Lars, and that just kind of flourished. And now he does mostly Metallica stuff, but he also has other stuff as well. And it was about an hour of just talking and getting to know who he is as a person. I picked up that white poster there is the same artwork that's on the guitar pick, but a little bigger, obviously. And after he was doing a, meet and greet, just kind of, hey, how's it going? And I went up and had an incredible conversation with him, just kind of talking and just kind of, I didn't bare my soul, but I kind of told him like, hey, I love what you've done. I love all of your artwork. I kind of stole a little bit of it. And now I mentioned that I cosplay, and I showed him my Megadeth cosplay because I know he's a big metal fan. He's not just Metallica, and he loved it. He thought it was really cool, and he wanted to talk cosplay for a bit, which was really fun. Like, I never thought I would sit down with him and want to talk about cosplay. He said he was working on a cosplay for his son, actually. I believe it's his son. So that was really nice to sit down and actually have a cosplay conversation with him. And I'm going to cut this from the show and make it its own separate video, but I really want to stress this because this is something that I've mentioned many times on the podcast, and I want to stress it here because it actually plays a factor in this. There are moments in life when you can make one of two decisions. You can make a decision about doing something and going somewhere, or you can make the decision to stay home and not. I've come to the realization over the past 10, 15 years that even if I go somewhere and I don't enjoy it and I don't have fun, it's a story. There isn't many stories I can do sitting on my couch. And that's kind of a CM Punk line. I know that if you're a CM Punk fan. But it's the truth. There was a point when I had to take the GO train to the exhibition grounds for this show, and I got off the train and I didn't feel that great. I kind of was feeling under the weather. You can tell now I'm breathing a little weird. I am sick now, and we'll talk more about that later. I wasn't feeling 100%. The Ticketmaster app was not working. So I could not get my ticket up. And there was a moment when I got off the train and I was fighting with the app where I was like, I want to go home. I want to go back to the condo. I could just rest for the night. I don't have to do this. And I went, no, because if I go back to the condo, I'm just going to relax. I'm not going to this isn't going to be fun. It's just going to be a blah night, which would have been fine. And I'm sick, so I should probably do that. But maybe I should go to the show and see how it is. I went to the show. I got an amazing poster. I got some cool guitar picks. And I had a great conversation with one of my favorite artists. I also had a great conversation with Fearless Fred, and we ended up talking about comic books. So if I made that decision to go home, I wouldn't have had those experiences, and it's just a reminder of, yeah, you may be not feeling 100%, but you should probably try and push yourself because you might do something that if you don't do it, you're going to regret. So that's just something I really want to stress because I've had that happen a bunch of different times. Like if I did not apply to Toys R Us when I was younger, I would not meet half of the people that I'm super good friends with. If I didn't volunteer for a convention the first time, I would not have the friend group I have now. I would not have the con family that I have now. If I didn't go out and cosplay for the first, all these things made me the person I am today, able to do 100 of these episodes. So it's just something I really want to push. Go frickin' try it. So after the show, it was great. Went home, relaxed. Now we're on to show 2, day 3. This is the interesting day. I woke up and I felt sick. Completely honest. My wife had just come back from New Brunswick, seeing family. She always catches a cold coming home. Without fail. So when she came home, she had the sniffles, and we did our best to avoid each other. We still live in the same house. We slept in different rooms, but we still live in the same house. We knew it was going to happen. It was just trying to get it as far away from me as I could. Saturday, I was sick. My throat was raw. 100% knew it was sick. But I was not going to miss this second show. Had to be there at the same time. Had to be there at 2 o'clock. To do the meet and greet, you have to take a COVID test. I have heard from others that this is a stickler for certain people. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to take a COVID test to percentage or a certain amount because you can't do the meet and greet. The COVID test. I know there was one person in our group who admitted during the Q&A that she received this package because someone couldn't go. I don't know if that was because of a COVID test or anything, but yeah, they will pull you if you don't pass the COVID test, or if you say you're not taking the COVID test, you don't do the meet and greet. And I get it. They're old. You don't want to be the one to fuck up the tour because you're sick and you brought it in. So we waited outside. It was a little cooler. We were kind of getting a little cold, and we waited a little longer. And we went inside, and we went to the Black Box Lounge for one last time. We could go back up after the meet and greet, but I knew once the meet and greet was over, I'd just want to go straight to the floor. And after that, we were not able to go back up once the show started. So we went up to the lounge, got a couple more things to eat. The person who was leading us was very nice to gift us each the second day guitar pick, which is something I want to let people know. If you are doing the tour, or if you are doing the Nothing Else Matters and you have the person who's going to help you around the venue, they probably are carrying guitar picks. Ask them, because they freely gave it out to us, and this will save you having to fight the audience and the crowd later on in the night for them. I should have, and I know this is me being freaking greedy, I should have asked for a second one because I have 2 of the first night, and I would love to display like one front, one back, but I can't do it for all of them. Also, when you get the experience, you get drink tickets. These are the drink tickets. Each day has a different guitar pick for the drink tickets, and you get 3 of those. So that's another collector's item that you may not realize is something when you get this package. So we go up to the Black Box Lounge. We are still not told who we are meeting. We go down to, I believe it's the batting cage dugout or something in the back. And we kind of sit there and we have a quick talk. We talk with the guy who's helping us. How are we enjoying the tour? How are we enjoying the experience? This is, I think, the second generation of this. So he was asking if anybody had done the first one, and this is the updated version, if there's anything that we should change or anything like that. It was actually really nice because he had a lot of information about the packages, what's changed. They're thinking of changing more stuff going forward, adding some things, taking some things away. So it'd be interesting to see what the next version of this is, because I think overall this has been a pretty good package, but there are 1 or 2 things I wouldn't mind changing that we'll talk about later. And then the 2 members came in, and the 2 members, if you haven't seen my photos, were Lars and Rob. Now, why is it only 2 members of the band? Well, I have read, and I completely understand why James particularly does not do these Q&As and these meet and greets. He used to. The whole band used to do an entire band meet and greet back in the day. James doesn't do it anymore. And I've read some reasons why, and honestly, I agree with a lot of them. And that is probably when you're someone like James Hetfield, you are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, name, face, whatever in metal. With that comes a lot of fans who love you and adore you, which is great, but also when they meet you, they feel like this is the only time I have to meet you. I'm going to explain why you mean so much to me. And I've seen this happen at cons, so I can just imagine what he has to deal with. He's in a position where probably one every, I would not be surprised if it's less than 5. 1 in 5 people go to James and just trauma dump on him. Not in a bad way, but just be like, James, you're incredible. You're a god. Without your music, I wouldn't be here, and all that. That plays a factor on people. And at 60, having to deal with listening to that, and not deal in a bad way, but have to internalize that for over 40 years, that weighs on somebody. So that is what I've heard of why James doesn't do it. I completely understand. Would I have loved to have met him? 100%. But I get it. That, dude, my mental health and being able to survive a tour, I can't listen to 50 people every night tell me that if I wasn't here and I didn't write Master of Puppets or I didn't write Whiplash, I would not be breathing. Like, that's a lot to take in for anybody. And then from what I've heard, Lars is usually pretty busy on the first night, just making sure everything's running smooth and all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So it's usually Rob and Kirk on the first night, and the second night it's a little easier for them. So Lars usually participates in the second night, and then it's either Kirk or Rob. It depends. So we got Rob and Lars, which was really cool because, again, I'm a Lars fan, and actually the group of guys that I'd kind of made friends with during the weekend, they knew how big of a drummer I was, how much of a fan of Lars as I was. So as soon as he walked in, they kind of looked at me like, Mike's going to lose his shit. And thankfully, I've got 10 years of working conventions. I didn't mark out as much as I thought I would, but man, was I kind of going, holy shit, I'm in the room with freaking Lars. And then they got up and we had individual photos with them. They were really nice. They asked us kind of the rudimentary questions of, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? That kind of gives them a talking point. They asked me where I was from. I said from Hamilton. And then it began. And one of two things happens with me. If they know my name, there's usually a comment about my name. And sometimes it's a comment about who I look like. And we went that route. After we took the photo, Rob stopped me and we said, who does he look like? And Lars said, and I will take this to my grave, Lars said I look like a young Edward Norton. And I said, thank you. Thank you so much, because I love that compliment, because I perfectly fine looking like Edward Norton. I said, no, I usually get Alan Ruck, Cameron from Ferris Bueller. That's usually the one that I see the most. And then I think Rob said something like John Hamm, and I was like, no, but I'll take it. I don't think so. I don't think I look a thing like John Hamm, but nice little interaction with them. And then we got to ask them questions. We got to talk about, many different things. And kind of going back to what I said about James, about trauma dumping, there was an individual in our group who did kind of tell his story about, Whiplash saved me and it meant so much to me. And someone else brought up that how much a song meant to them and all that. So even when they kind of told us, like, if you have a story to tell, we completely understand, but, try to keep it a little jovial. And but I do understand that some fans need to tell their story. They need to get it off their chest. And and Lars and them were great about it. He totally understood. I was very thankful to hear it. I wanted to keep the mood a little lighter, a little more fun. So I had a couple ideas for questions, but because the Squindo thing worked so well, talking about cosplay, I kind of wanted to do that because I could just imagine, and the guy who was kind of running the Q&A brought it up a couple times during the before we went down and when we got down there, like, there are Googleable questions. There are Googleable answers to some of the basic questions. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite album? How was it writing that? Like, there are questions they've answered a billion times. Ask them something they haven't been asked before, or something specifically personal without getting into, in 1994, when you play Rogers Center, did you enjoy, like, that's a little too in-depth. So I was like, well, I'm going to ask something that has to do with me, because it's probably something I've never been asked before. So, because I wanted to talk about my drumming, but I didn't want to just talk about drumming, I said, as someone who in his spare time loves to drum, which I do, thank you, Lars, I also cosplay. And I'm starting to do a lot of music cosplays unintentionally. Vic Rattlehead from Megadeth, Ice Nine Kills, The American Psycho counts. Judge Dredd's got the Anthrax knot in the helmet because I'm an Anthrax fan. If you were to cosplay a character on stage, what would you pick? And Rob was like, that is one of the weirdest questions we've had in a while, but he liked it. He said it's something very different. And I know everybody who knows me is like, you ask them a cosplay question. Again, it's something they haven't been asked before. It made them think instead of going, here's the 10 questions we get asked every time. Lars's answer was he grew up as a runner, but he also loved reading with his son, The Flash. So he said he would want to be The Flash, which I thought was so cool because I'm thinking of doing a Flash cosplay. And Rob said Jason Momoa's Aquaman because of the resemblance. And I laughed. We all laughed at that because we went, yep, can totally see that. So maybe we'll get a cosplay show at some point. But yeah, we were there for maybe 45 minutes, I think, about 45 minutes. And then they left and we kind of had our free will to either go up to the Black Box Lounge or back down to the stage. And I went down to the stage because I wanted to be there for Ice Nine Kills because I like Ice Nine Kills. I don't love Ice Nine Kills. However, after seeing them live, I now love Ice Nine Kills. They were so fun live, but more fun was watching the audience react to their stage show. There was maybe 3-4 people in the pit around me that were singing the songs. Like, I didn't think that many people didn't know them, but there wasn't many. It felt like I was one of the few that were singing a good amount of their songs, and I don't even know all of their songs. If you've never seen Ice Nine Kills before, they are a very horror theatrical band. A lot of their music and a lot of their music is based around horror movies, horror IP, different things like that. So they have they have elements of that. One of them is American Nightmare around the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, American Psycho. There's one called The Shower Scene, which is Psycho, which is one of my favorite songs. They have a new song out about the movie Terrifier, which if you've seen or heard of anything of the Terrifier movies, you know it is one of the craziest, goriest modern horror movies that is getting a lot of attention. There is a moment in the show where Art the Clown, who is walking around on stage, murders a girl, and there is an unborn baby involved that they have fun with, which was like, I knew it was coming, but just watching, even looking at security, being like, what did I sign up for, was really fun. But yeah, they did a great job. Spencer, the lead singer, was running around his butt. They were probably the one band. They also have more members than anything else that does play a factor. They used the whole stage. Suicidal Tendencies, Pantera, and especially the next band, Limp Bizkit, really only use sections of the stage. They didn't use the whole thing like Metallica does. So I think that was really cool, being able to see them use the full 360 of the stage. And then we had the one that I think everyone was super excited about. I've never seen these guys live, but I am a big Limp Bizkit fan. And I don't mean I stopped at Chocolate Flavored Starfish. I mean I listened to their new album. Like I knew Dad Bod when they played that. Their new song that not many people know. And it was good. And that's the part that hurts the most, is that it was good. And the reason it was only good was because of where they played. They played to the majority of the crowd. The problem with that, though, is if this is the arena, or if this is the Ball Diamond, the stage is here, they're playing this way, I'm back here in the middle, and you have all this crowd back here that didn't really get involved in the show. They were seeing Limp Bizkit's back. And I was okay with it because I'm like, that's fine. They're playing for the majority of the fans. I get that. But it would have been nice if they were able to maybe move back to the back section and kind of go over us to the next side. But hey, I get it. It's their layout. They can do what they want. When it comes to song, they played all the hits. They played every single hit. They had fun little interludes. Yeah, it's Limp Bizkit. Like, if you're a fan, you would have loved it if you were there. Like I said, the only reason I didn't love it was because of just the way the stage was set up and where I was standing. It's a personal gripe. I completely understand. And then we had night 2 of Metallica, and this was the time when I am now moved to drum kit 2, which I wanted to hang out at because the guys that I had met throughout the weekend were standing there, and I was like, yeah, might as well hang out with them this time instead of by myself in the corner on number 4. This would unfortunately be my undoing, though. So we kicked things off, Whiplash, which was amazing. Trying to think, what were some other big songs from the second night that weren't closer to the end? Anyways, they moved to section 2. And at this point, if you've seen any of the videos, there's a monitor section in each corner, and there's a little yellow part that sticks out that the monitors are sitting on. That is where I am. And if you see my video that I posted on my socials, I'm pretty much doing this staring at Lars and going absolutely nuts when he's looking at me, when anybody's looking at me. The problem is, though, I am not good at preparing for shows. And it's my own fault and my own reasoning. I've had stomach problems my whole life. I've had, we'll just say inside problems. And because of that, I know what I can and can't eat, drink before I go into something like this, because I don't want to pay for a stupidly good ticket and have to run to the washroom every 5 minutes. Because of that, I don't usually eat or drink that much going into a show. Now, that didn't play a factor as much on night 1 because I was on spot 4, so I got the loudest and the craziest at the end. And at the end, I got to just let it all out. The show was over. I went home. This night, however, I went nuts on number 2. And then I didn't dawn on me, dude, your body's also fighting a cold. So by the time they moved to number 3, I felt like I was going to pass the fuck out. Like, I've never felt this bad at a concert before. I did have some food up in the Black Box Lounge. I did have a little bit of water and stuff beforehand, but I did not want to drink or eat anything because I didn't want to leave. So by the time they got to the 3rd stage and they started doing Call of Cthulhu, I'm leaning against the back because they're now here, and I'm this close to falling over. I'm that sick. And at that point, I made a very strong judgment call, and I left. Not entirely leave the show, but I left the pit. I went up and I grabbed a water from the concession stands, and I got some air, and came back down after a little bit, and I think I came down for Battery. And I'm glad I got that water, because after Battery, they played Moth to Flame. And when I get sick, I get hot. And then I'm in the middle of the pit, and all those flame pots are going off, and it's roasting us in the middle. So yeah, I was feeling really sick by that point. Barely holding it together. I felt really bad, because no matter what they do, I'm just, yay, this is fun. I don't want to be here. And that sucks, because again, I'm such a Metallica fan, but my body did not like me at that point. There was one moment where I think it was Sandman, and they dropped the beach balls. And I'm like, all right, man, this is it. Like, last song. Chug some, like the hockey thing of like, chug some water, get in the game. Like, you got this. I chugged the water. The beach ball was coming over. I jumped, I smacked it, and I just went, oh. And I was back to zero. Like, that jump was all the energy I had left. I want to apologize to, I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. But I do want to apologize to the individual behind me. You will never probably see this, and you probably have no idea, don't even remember. And you might remember me, because it looked like you want to punch me in the mouth. At the end, they ended up throwing guitar picks out, and I hadn't caught one yet. And one of Rob's landed behind me, and I saw him sort of fall, lunge into it. And I raised my foot up, and I stomped as hard as I could on that guitar pick. And he jumped up, and he's like, "You're going to step on my hand." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. That's mine." When I get sick, I seem to not care about anyone else. I felt so bad the next morning when I woke up. I honestly, though, I didn't care. I was so sick at that point. And then that was it. That was the end of night 2. Honestly, the set for night 2 was really good. Like, I really enjoyed set 2, even though I was sick. I think it was a better set. I think it was more encompassing of their career. I felt number 1 was very heavy on the new stuff, which is fine, but I know people are here for the classics. There was definitely some classics that they didn't play. Like, they didn't play Fade to Black. They didn't play Four Horsemen, which are usually pretty big staples of theirs, but overall, it was still a good night. After the show, though, we did not get to just leave, even though I felt like dog shit. We had to go meet up, because we had to meet up with our friends in the tour that were helping us, and we were gifted that black tube back there has both posters from the day, from both shows, and we were also given this, which is something that I'm super happy about. A signed set list from both nights, signed by the band, which is really cool. It is just printer paper, so take that in consideration if anybody is getting the package and wondering, is it going to be laminated? Is it going to be... Nope, it's printer paper with a black Sharpie, so it's not crazy high quality. So we met up, we grabbed our stuff, and I booked it, and I was walking. I had my hoodie with me. I had it over my head like Michael Jordan in the playoffs, and went back to the condo, crashed for probably an hour, had some food, had some liquids, and then drove home. And that was the end of my Metallica weekend. Now, what did I get for $5,000? Well, I got 2 posters, both day posters. I got the signed set list. I got to meet Lars and Rob. I got to ask them a question. I got a photo with them. I got to go to the Black Box Lounge. The Black Box Lounge had a bunch of things that you can interact with. Sit on Lars's drum kit, play some guitars, look at some memorabilia, 3 free drinks, a whole bunch of really good food. You got to walk up on the stage. You got to take some photos on the stage. You got to hear all about the production. You were also gifted 3 of the drink tickets that you can use or keep. You also could ask your guy for the pick of the day. What else? I think that's kind of it. Oh, you also get your Snake Pit wristbands. You also get a lanyard. You also get a little thing on the lanyard that says you're an enhanced experience. Was this worth $5,000 is the final Jeopardy question. Yes and no. Was this worth $5,000? Yes. For everything you get, if you are a hardcore Metallica fan and have never experienced a band like this before, yes, it is worth $5,000. Would I be going into debt over this? Would I be putting this on a credit card? No. If we were in the position of this was going to be something that would take us a very long time to pay off, I would not be thrilled. And it's not like they did anything wrong. The only thing I wish we got that we didn't is we did not get a physical ticket for the show, which is kind of something that's like, and most people don't care anymore, but there's a lot of Metallica fans out there who like making displays of it, and that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to make a shadow box with all the stuff on it. I'm going to put the posters up. I would like to have had a physical ticket to put in the box. I'm going to probably make my own on Canva because I know how to use Canva. And you can go on Etsy, and there's people on Etsy and stuff that can make them for you. But yeah, if this comes around again, I don't know if I would get it. It was great. And it was honestly, I've said it from the beginning, it was one of the most fun weekends I've ever had. Honestly, it was so cool meeting the Metallica family, hanging out with them, getting to know perspectives of other people seeing shows and everything like that. However, coming home and thinking to myself, okay, I now have to, if I was in that position, I would now have to figure out a way to pay off $5,000. Nope, not worth it. And that's me. That's my sense of money and all that. If it's not free, if that's not the way you think and you're like, man, it's one of the only things I ever wanted and all that, I completely get it. And like I said earlier in the episode, my wife's logic made a ton of sense. Dude, they're in their 60s. Like, last time they were here in 2017, it's now 2025. That's 8 years. The next time they could be back is 2030 something. James is gonna be 68. Like, that's old. That's getting retirement age no matter what band you're in. So it was definitely something I'm glad I did, but when it comes to logistics of finances, I don't know if it would have been worth it. But because of the position I was in, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. I got to meet my favorite drummer, the guy who influenced me to play drums. I could have easily trauma dumped all over them, but I didn't want to because not the way I am. Got a set list, got a whole bunch of guitar picks out of it, which was really, really fun. Got some cool posters. Got an Artist Squindo poster. Overall, it was great. But yeah, money is definitely a factor for me. But again, that's me. So that was my $5,000 Metallica weekend. I hope you guys had a blast. If you're still here, I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and all those things that all these podcasts tell you to do. I still can't believe this is episode 100. Like, really, I cannot believe this is episode 100. We have a lot of things going on this year. We've got a bunch of episodes on deck ready to go. There's things that are going to be coming up, cosplay fails and how to deal with them. We've got a lot of cons coming up this year, which means we're going to do a lot of convention reviews. We got Anime North coming up. We've got Niagara Falls coming up. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about celebrity stories. We're going to talk about, we're going to maybe have some guests on here, depending on how the frickin', channel and everything works. Jennifer, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you on 100. It's kind of nuts. I've been doing this thing for 100, and you guys are still coming back every single week. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, we've got a lot on board. We got a lot of stuff going on. This is the year that I'm going to be pushing for a lot of cosplay stuff. Cosplay guests are open. The applications are open for Fan Expo. So if you're wanting to put your name in, don't, because I did, and I don't want you to be there. Not me. I'm kidding. No, seriously, if you want to be a guest at Fan Expo, you should put your name in. I put mine in, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm still going to be there. It's going to be a great weekend. But yeah, it's been over an hour, so I'm going to let you guys get out of here. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope I was able to answer some questions that you had and fill you in and give you a little more detail on if this package is for you for when Metallica comes into your town. So with that, I will bid you adieu. Have yourselves a good night. I love you all, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Take care, folks. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.